Hey everybody, Rob with WePayOffDebt.ca. Hope you're doing well. Coming at you today with a little bit of our backstory. If you haven't heard our story, I thought I would take a second and share a little bit about how we paid off $41,000 in I want to say I want to say 18 months. It's a little more complicated than that, though. So we'll say 18 months for now, and we'll get into the story, okay? But first, I want to let you know, I've got a cool thing called a community phone number. So community.com is a great website where you can actually get a phone number, a texting platform phone number, where people can text you, and we can talk back and forth. So definitely grab your phone right now and shoot me a text and say hi. And I actually respond to every single text I get. Is area code 204-81-36-133, okay? 81-36-133, area code 204. Definitely hit me up and we'll chat, okay? So, but let's talk about our story, how we paid off $41,000 in 18 months. So what it was is we discovered the Dave Ramsey, or I discovered the Dave Ramsey program, the program which is the radio show on this podcast. And because I'd been listening to podcasts for many years, I love podcasts. And I was just searching through it. I came across his podcast and I started listening to it. And the thing about the Dave Ramsey show, if you don't know, they do something called the debt-free scream. And the debt-free scream is very, very interesting. Eventually, I heard the story about how it started. Somebody called into the show, because he does a call-in show where people call in with their money questions. And somebody called in, and they basically said something to the effect of, Dave, you wouldn't believe it, I'm debt-free, woo! And then hung up the phone. And he was like, what was that? But then sure enough, somebody called back like the next day or the next week saying, hey, Dave, I want to do a scream like that. And it was born very organically. And so what it's turned into today is he's on the air for 3 hours a day, Monday to Friday. And so every hour he has one person or couple come on and talk about their get out of debt story. And so what he'll do is he'll first off, how much debt did you pay off? How long did it take? What was your income level? And then he interviews them and asks questions like, what was your biggest budget fight? And what was the hardest part of getting debt? What were the keys to getting out of debt? All these kind of things. And as I listened to these, as a person who, I thought I was pretty good with money, as I listened to these stories, it just blew my mind how people were actually getting out of more debt than we had while making less money than us and doing so in a year and a half, 2 years, tops. And I was shocked by this. And in fact, I was so shocked that I was convinced it was a fake. I was convinced he must be the televangelist of personal finance, where he's paying people to come on and say certain things, and it's just all a lie. And as I kept listening, I became more and more convinced, no, that can't be the case. There's just too many of them. The stories are too real, too relatable, and I believe it. I believe it. It's actually happening. The biggest thing that really hit me was hearing about 1 in 10 or so of them at the time were people that were coming on having paid off their house. And that didn't compute for me. I said, wait, what? Paid off a house today? In this day and age? Can you do that? Now, I actually remember my dad had done it when I was a kid. My dad actually had paid off our house. My dad was pretty good with money. But I look at that and I'm like, no, you can't do that today. Housing prices the way they are, you just always have a mortgage, is what I thought. But when I heard that, and I started to believe that it was true, that was where things started changing for me. Because I started looking at our mortgage payment, and I'm like, man, if I had that much money freed up every single month, no mortgage payment, whoa, that's some power. That's some ability to do amazing, generous things and help crazy amounts of people. Because if all you invest is a mortgage payment for 20 years, you're ridiculously rich, right? So that got me enough to say, okay, you know what? We should try this. We should do this. And my wife was like, I don't know, sure, but let's give it a shot. And what happened was we started doing the plan, except we didn't do the plan. We did what I wanted to do in the plan, right? Because I was the only one really interested in doing it. And so I started budgeting the way that Dave Ramsey recommends, with an every dollar type budget as best I could. But I did not want to give up using my credit cards. And that was the biggest thing for us. I loved getting my points. So every 3 months or so, we would cash in our points. We had a PC MasterCard. Every 3 months or so, we'd cash in those points, and we'd get like $300 of free groceries, right? It was great. And so I really wanted to keep that. And so I started looking for ways, how can I keep my credit card while making this kind of thing happen? And so every month I would make a budget with how much we plan to go towards debt and how much we plan for this, that, and the other thing. And every single month we wouldn't stick to it. Now we made progress, and partially made progress because I started picking up extra work. I started picking up, finding newer ways to bring in income. I picked up overtime at my job. I started doing side jobs and things like that, and doing whatever I could, selling stuff around the house, doing whatever we could to bring in some income. And sure enough, we started paying off some debt, and my wife took notice. She's like, oh, wow, this is great. We're making progress. But I kept using the credit cards, and every single month I'd make a budget, and every single month I'd fail to stick to it. And it would just get so frustrating, so bothersome, right? I'm like, I was taught how to make a budget in school. I got A's in being taught how to make a budget. I should be able to make a budget. So let's make a budget, and one that actually I can stick to. So I did things like, collecting receipts and so many different attempts to try to track it, and I could never get it tracked. Well, fast forward now, we actually made progress. We paid off all of our debt in, I'm going to say 18 months. Yeah, I think 18 months. Yeah, that's right. I got to be very careful in the numbering here because of what happens. We paid off all of our debt in 18 months, which was, and I'll say $39,000 in 18 months. And what happened was, we celebrated. This was exciting. This was amazing. Let's go on our celebratory road trip. And so, as I had done for the last 18 months, I budgeted a road trip. We were going to go down to Fargo. We're in Winnipeg, so Fargo is about 3 hours away. Fargo, North Dakota. Very exotic place that Fargo is, and we were going to go down there. And I expected to come back with $0, but I expected to come back without debt. So, but we go down there, and we're still using the credit cards. Now, for months, I've been trying different things. At that point, I was paying off my credit cards weekly. Right? I would use my credit card on a bunch of things and then pay it off weekly. Use it on a bunch of things, pay it off weekly. And I still was not able to track my budget. Also during that time, during the 18 months while we were paying off debt, I tried out Dave Ramsey's Every Dollar app. And I absolutely hated it. That app, it didn't make any sense. The way it was laid out, the way it was set up, the way it worked. Like, I just couldn't, for the life of me, figure out how to make it work. How to use it in any good way. So I said, nah, forget that. But I still hadn't come up with any answer. So now, the 18-month mark, we get out of debt. That month, we go on this road trip. It's the summer. We go on this road trip to Fargo. I tell you, so we used our credit cards the whole time, but we were budgeting and trying to keep track. I tell you, we came back not with $100 or $200 of credit card debt. If we had come back with $200 of credit card debt, I probably still would be using the credit card. Honestly, I came back with, I think it was $1,800 of credit card debt that I couldn't pay. And after going 18 months trying to get out of debt, that was the most frustrating thing ever. That we just went right back into debt. And so now at that point, where are we at? Well, we gotta get out of debt again. So we start throwing money at the debt, and we were out in another 2 months or so. And so that's where our official number comes from: $41,000 paid off in 19 months. That's right. But that was the last straw. That was the end of Rob thinking he knows better. And so what I said at that point was, no, credit cards are gone. Credit cards are gone. I think I've been trying to keep them, trying so hard to keep them and track my money. No, they're gone. And I remember the first day I left without a credit card in my wallet, and I felt naked. Like I felt like, it was hard. It felt so strange. And I didn't even cut them up. I was so scared to lose them. I just put them in a drawer and left them at home. Okay. I totally got used to not having them, and I haven't used them since. That was the last time we used a credit card. So we've been credit card free for that long. But what happened then, a couple months later, I tried out Every Dollar again. And this is the amazing thing, okay? The slight modification of stopping using my credit cards changed everything with regards to Every Dollar. The Every Dollar app, now all of a sudden, before I hated it, now I absolutely loved it as an amazing tool to be able to actually budget and track at the same time. For whatever reason, the small simplification of my finances that was done by getting rid of the credit card was enough to go from being completely unable to track it to now tracking everything. And we have even gotten better since then, but at this point, certainly we are tracking north of 99.9% of every penny that comes in the house. The only time we can not track something is if we withdraw cash or spend cash that we have on hand and forget to log into the app and record that cash. That is the only time, and that happens super rarely. That is the only time that it can happen. And so my big takeaway from that whole thing was I am not smarter than Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey has been teaching people how to get out of debt for 25 years. I need to shut up and do what he says. He is the personal finance coach, just like a workout coach, and he's giving people six packs financially. Okay, he's giving people, full on abs financially. I'm like, okay, I got to suck it up and say, okay, I'm going to do what you say. And so at this point, you will now find me to be one of the most strict followers, as best I can, of the Dave Ramsey program, and trying hard to follow it as best I can. So I encourage everyone out there, if you are really struggling and you are not in full control of your money, if you do not, first off, budget every penny that you're going to have this month and track to make sure you stick to it, if you are not doing that, I encourage you, try out going credit card free. At least, even just for 3 months. You say, I'm not going to do it for 3 months. How much is that going to cost you? I mean, if that was for me before, it was $300 every 3 months or so, $400. That's what that would cost me, $400 in points. If you would have told me back then, okay, Rob, if you give up $400 in points, you will be able to track your budget for 3 months straight. I was so frustrated without being unable to do that. I would have said, yes, 100% I'll do that. I am totally in. And if you want to be in control, be whipping your money into shape, give it a shot. See what you can do. Okay? I'm going to put some related links in the description of this video. Hopefully that gives you some great value today. And please, again, shoot me a text. I would love to hear from you. 204-81-36-133. Have a good one. We'll talk to you again soon.